Today I'll be making a Kiridashi folding knife. The Kiridashi is a traditional Japanese marking knife that's characterized by being pointy and chisel ground, but the one I'm making will be symmetrically ground. I'm forging this knife from an old file, hammering out the tip so it's pointy and thin. Then I'll hot cut the portion of the knife that I want at an angle. Cutting it this way will make it easier when I'm hammering out the tang. I'm holding the knife off of the anvil so I can isolate the tang and get it thinner. Once I get the tang hammered out to where I want it, I'll put it in the vise and hammer the tang so it's perpendicular to the blade. I'm doing this because the bottom of the tang needs to match up with the spine of the knife to properly align on the handle. I will then hammer out the tang again to achieve an S shape. And make sure to normalize the blade at least twice. Stresses inside the steel will cause horrible warping when you quench it. After grinding, I'll quench and temper the blade, tempering to about a straw color. For the handle, I'll be using aluminum bar, hammering it out to achieve an hourglass shape and cool texture. For bending the handle, I'll bend it 90 degrees in the vise, and then shape the rest of the way using a piece of steel that was slightly thicker than the knife. Finding the correct spot for drilling can be tricky, so I mark where the hole is when the knife is open, and when the knife is closed, then I find a compromise between the two. Thankfully, this one was pretty spot on the way I made it. Because the handle has been folded, a notch needs to be cut so it can rotate all the way around and then the tang can make contact with the top of the handle. Just for aesthetics, I wanted to add a mild steel spacer to the end. It turned out to be a good counterweight when I opened it. The folder needs some washers on the outside for decoration and washers on the inside to help with friction and keep the blade from wearing away the aluminum handle. Before riveting, I smooth the edges off of each side of the rivets to keep them from cracking when they're hammered out. I'm not hammering very hard when starting the rivet, so I can make sure the washers are staying on. I will constantly switch the sides to keep it even. I'll tighten the rivets until there is constant friction, keeping the knife from swinging freely. This way it won't swing around and cut your finger. I will sharpen the knife on my diamond stones until I reach 1200 grit. This gives an extremely sharp edge. The edge is still very hard, so the burr is easily removed on the 1200 stone. And there it is. A sharp and pointy folding knife, good for all-around utility. And also, it's pretty good for fingernail clipping too.